The animal shelter on the outskirts of Detroit had seen its share of difficult cases, but nothing quite like Rex. The 3-year-old German Shepherd had been surrendered by his fourth owner in 18 months, and the staff at Riverside Animal Rescue were running out of options. Behind the chain-link fence of kennel number 7, Rex paced back and forth, his dark eyes wild with distrust, his muscular body coiled like a spring ready to snap. Sarah Mitchell, the shelter director, stood outside the kennel with her clipboard, watching the dog with a mixture of pity and frustration. She had worked with aggressive dogs before, spent 15 years rehabilitating animals that society had written off, but Rex was different. He did not just bark or growl. He lunged with a ferocity that spoke of deep trauma, of pain that had calcified into rage. The German Shepherd had come from a breeding operation that had been shut down by animal control 6 months earlier. The conditions had been horrific. Dogs kept in cramped cages, fed sporadically, socialized never. Rex had been one of 27 dogs rescued that day, but while most of his companions had slowly learned to trust again, Rex had only grown more volatile. 3 trainers had tried to work with him. The first, a confident man named Derek who specialized in aggressive breeds, had lasted 2 sessions before declaring the dog beyond help. The second, a woman with decades of experience, had made it through a week before admitting defeat. The third had not even made it past the initial assessment, taking one look at the way Rex threw himself against the kennel door and quietly backing away. Now, on a cold November morning, Sarah faced the reality she had been avoiding. The shelter had a strict no-kill policy, something she had fought for and believed in with every fiber of her being, but Rex was becoming a liability. He could not be adopted, could not be fostered, could not even be safely handled by most of the staff. The insurance company had already called twice this month, asking pointed questions about protocols and risk management. She was contemplating this impossible situation when she heard the front door chime. Glancing at her watch, she frowned. It was barely 7 in the morning, too early for walk-in visitors. She headed back inside, leaving Rex to his restless pacing. In the small waiting area stood a man she did not recognize. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with close-cropped gray hair and the kind of posture that spoke of military service. He wore a faded army jacket over a thermal shirt, jeans that had seen better days, and boots that were clean but worn. His face was weathered, lined with the kind of exhaustion that came from carrying invisible weight. Marcus Johnson had been awake since 4, the same as every morning. Sleep was a luxury he had lost somewhere between his 3rd deployment to Afghanistan and the day he came home to find his marriage dissolved and his life in pieces. He stood in the shelter lobby now, hands shoved deep in his pockets, wondering if this was another mistake in a long line of them. The therapist at the VA had suggested it 6 weeks ago. Get a dog, she had said. Something to care for, something to give structure to your days. Marcus had nodded, not mentioning that he could barely take care of himself most mornings, that some days the weight of simply existing felt like too much. But the suggestion had stuck. And after another sleepless night, another morning of staring at walls that seemed to close in a little more each day, he had gotten in his truck and driven to the first shelter he could find. Sarah approached with a professional smile that did not quite reach her eyes. Can I help you? Marcus cleared his throat. I am looking to adopt a dog. She brightened immediately, gesturing toward her office. Wonderful. Let me get some paperwork started, and we can talk about what you are looking for. Do you have experience with dogs? Yeah. Marcus followed her down the narrow hallway, past kennels where dogs barked and whined, seeking attention. Had a Belgian Malinois in my unit overseas. Worked with military dogs for about 4 years. Sarah paused at that, reassessing the man in front of her. That experience was rare, valuable. Most people who came through her doors had loved family pets growing up, maybe a retriever or a poodle, nothing that prepared them for the kinds of dogs that ended up here. As they settled into her cramped office, surrounded by filing cabinets and donation receipts, Sarah pulled out the standard adoption questionnaire. But her mind was already wandering back to kennel number 7, to the impossible dog that no one could reach. She should not even consider it. It would be irresponsible, potentially dangerous. Rex had shown 0 signs of progress, 0 indication that he could ever be safe in a home environment. But something about the quiet man sitting across from her desk, something in the way he carried himself with that particular kind of weariness she had seen in other veterans, made her pause. She thought about the way military handlers worked with dogs, the bond they formed, the understanding that went beyond simple training. Before she could talk herself out of it, Sarah set down her pen and looked Marcus directly in the eye. "Before we start the paperwork, there is a dog I want you to meet. But I need to be honest with you. He is not like the others. He has some serious issues, and I have been told by multiple professionals that he might be beyond help." Marcus met her gaze without flinching. "Show me." Sarah led Marcus through the shelter's back corridor, past the kennels where adoptable dogs pressed against their gates, tails wagging with desperate hope. But she walked past all of them, heading toward the isolated section at the far end of the building where they kept the cases too dangerous for public viewing. As they approached Kennel 7, the temperature seemed to drop. Rex was already at the fence line, having heard their footsteps. His lips were pulled back in a snarl that exposed every tooth, and a low, guttural growl rumbled from deep in his chest. The sound was primal, threatening, designed to warn predators that death waited on the other side of that fence. Most people stepped back instinctively when they saw Rex like this. Some had actually turned and walked away without a word. But Marcus moved closer, stopping about 6 feet from the kennel. He did not speak, did not make sudden movements. He just stood there, hands loose at his sides, breathing steady. Sarah watched nervously, ready to pull him back if needed. This is Rex, 3 years old. German Shepherd, obviously. Came from a breeding mill that was shut down. He has been here for 4 months, and in that time, he has bitten 2 staff members, destroyed 3 leashes, and made it impossible for anyone to enter his kennel safely. We have to use a catch pole just to move him for cleaning, and even that is getting more dangerous. Marcus did not look away from the dog. What happened to the staff members he bit? Minor injuries both times, but only because they moved fast enough. Sarah crossed her arms, feeling the weight of her responsibility. "Look, I am only showing you this dog because of your military experience, but I need you to understand what you would be taking on. Every trainer who has worked with him says the same thing. He is too far gone. The trauma runs too deep. Some dogs, they just cannot come back from what they have been through." Rex continued to snarl, his entire body rigid with aggression. But Marcus noticed something else. The way the dog's ears flicked back occasionally. The slight tremor in his back legs. The rapid breathing that was not just anger but panic. He had seen this before in the kennels at Bagram Airfield, in the eyes of dogs who had been mistreated by previous handlers or traumatized by the chaos of war. This was not just aggression. This was terror wrapped in teeth. "Can I spend some time with him?" Marcus asked quietly. Sarah hesitated. "We cannot let you in the kennel. It is too dangerous. Our insurance would not cover it, and honestly, I could not live with myself if something happened." "I understand." Marcus finally looked at her. "Can I just sit here? Outside the kennel. Just sit and be present with him." It was an unusual request, but Sarah had run out of conventional options months ago. She glanced at her watch. "I have to make some calls. Will you be okay out here alone?" Marcus lowered himself to the concrete floor, settling into a position he could hold for hours if needed. He had done it before, in desert heat and mountain cold, waiting for moments that might never come. "Yeah, I will be fine." Sarah left reluctantly, glancing back twice before disappearing around the corner. And Marcus sat, while Rex paced and snarled, and the morning light crept slowly across the floor between them. Marcus sat on that cold concrete floor for 3 hours straight. He did not check his phone, did not shift positions constantly, did not try to make eye contact or offer treats or do any of the things that normal people did when trying to win over a dog. He simply existed in the same space as Rex, breathing the same air, occupying the same moment in time. For the first hour, Rex maintained his aggressive display, barking, lunging at the fence, pacing with that feral intensity that had driven everyone else away. But Marcus did not react. He had learned patience in places where impatience could cost lives. He had learned stillness in the kind of chaos that broke men who could not find silence within themselves. By the second hour, Rex's barking had diminished to occasional growls. The dog was still wary, still ready to explode into violence, but something about this human was different. He did not demand anything. He did not invade space or make threatening gestures. He just sat there, calm as stone. Marcus began to speak, so quietly that anyone passing by would not have heard him. His voice was low, steady, almost rhythmic. He talked about Afghanistan, about the dogs he had worked with there, about a Malinois named Titan who had saved his unit from an ambush by detecting an IED before they walked into a kill zone. He talked about coming home to a country that felt more foreign than the war zone he had left. He talked about the nightmares that made sleep feel like punishment, about the way loud noises sent him diving for cover, about the guilt of surviving when better men had not. He was not talking to Rex, not really. He was just releasing words into the space between them, filling the silence with the truth of his own brokenness. And something shifted. Rex stopped pacing. He sat down, still tense, still ready to fight, but sitting. His ears were forward now, focused on the human who spoke of pain in a language the dog somehow understood. They were both wounded. They both carried scars that no one else could see. They both lived in a world that felt hostile and unsafe, where trust was a luxury neither could afford. Marcus noticed the change but did not acknowledge it. He kept talking, kept breathing, kept being present. And slowly, incrementally, Rex's body began to relax. Just slightly, just enough. Sarah returned around noon with a sandwich she had picked up from the deli down the street. She stopped short when she saw them. Rex was lying down now, his massive head resting on his paws, his eyes still locked on Marcus, but without the wild aggression she had seen every single day for 4 months. "Marcus," she whispered, afraid to break whatever spell had been cast. "What did you do?" He finally looked up at her, and she saw exhaustion in his face, but also something else. Something that looked almost like hope. "Nothing. I just sat with him. Let him know he is not alone in whatever hell he is living in. If you are hoping this story has a happy ending, stay with us. Because what happens next will restore your faith in second chances." Sarah knelt down beside Marcus, staring at the dog who had defied every expert, every trainer, every conventional approach to rehabilitation. "Do you want to try taking him home?" The paperwork took 2 days. Sarah had to get special approval from the board, draft liability waivers that her lawyer reviewed 3 times, and have multiple conversations with Marcus about the reality of what he was undertaking. But on a gray Wednesday afternoon, Marcus loaded Rex into the back of his pickup truck using a technique he had learned in the military, calm and methodical, giving the dog space while maintaining control. Rex rode in silence, his body tense but not panicked. He watched the world pass by through the truck's rear window, processing the change in his circumstances with the wariness of an animal who had learned that change usually meant pain. Marcus lived in a small rental house on the east side of Detroit, a neighborhood that had seen better days but still had pockets of dignity. The house had a fenced backyard, which had been Sarah's one non-negotiable requirement. He led Rex through the side gate, removed the leash and stepped back. For a moment, they just looked at each other across 10 feet of winter-dead grass. Then Marcus turned and walked into the house, leaving the back door open. The first week was hell. Rex would not come inside. He slept in the farthest corner of the yard, refused food for 2 days, and lunged at Marcus whenever he came within 5 feet. But Marcus had expected this. He had seen dogs in theater go through the same process, testing boundaries, waiting for the punishment they believed was inevitable. He did not force anything. He placed food and water outside twice a day, sat on the back steps for hours at a time, and talked in that same low, steady voice. He told Rex about his daughter, Jasmine, who had been 6 when he deployed the first time and 16 when he came back too broken to be the father she remembered. He talked about the divorce papers that had arrived while he was still at Walter Reed, about the way his ex-wife had looked at him like he was a stranger wearing her husband's face. On the 8th day, Marcus woke to find Rex standing in the kitchen. The dog had come inside during the night, drawn by something neither of them could name. They stared at each other in the early morning darkness, and Marcus felt his chest tighten with an emotion he had not allowed himself in years. "Good boy," he whispered, Rex did not approach, but he did not run either. The breakthrough came 3 weeks later. Marcus had been sitting on the couch, staring at nothing, trapped in one of those moments when the past felt more real than the present. His hands were shaking, his breathing shallow, the walls closing in with that familiar suffocating pressure. And then Rex was there. Not touching, not demanding, just present. The dog sat down beside the couch, close enough that Marcus could feel his warmth, and stayed. For hours, they sat together in the gathering darkness, two broken creatures finding solace in shared silence. Marcus reached down slowly, his hand trembling, and for the first time, Rex allowed himself to be touched. The contact lasted maybe 3 seconds before the dog pulled away. But it was enough. It was a beginning. Spring came to Detroit with unexpected warmth, and with it, a transformation that neither Marcus nor Rex could have predicted. The dog who had been deemed untamable now followed Marcus through the house with quiet devotion. He slept at the foot of the bed, his breathing steady and calm. He ate from Marcus's hand. He walked without a leash through the neighborhood, staying close, alert but no longer aggressive. But the real miracle was what Rex did for Marcus. The nightmares still came, but now when Marcus woke gasping in the darkness, Rex was there. The dog's presence anchored him to reality, pulled him back from the edge of whatever abyss he had been falling into. The panic attacks that used to leave him paralyzed for hours now passed more quickly, soothed by the steady rhythm of Rex's heartbeat against his leg. Marcus started leaving the house more. Small trips at first, to the grocery store, to the VA for his appointments. Rex came with him everywhere, and people noticed. They noticed the way the massive German Shepherd stayed perfectly calm in crowds, the way he seemed to sense when Marcus was struggling and would press against his leg, providing pressure and comfort. A therapist at the VA suggested Marcus look into getting Rex certified as a service dog. The training and evaluation took 6 months, but Rex passed every test with a focus that stunned the instructors. The dog who had once been considered dangerous beyond redemption now worked with precision and gentleness, alerting to Marcus's anxiety before Marcus himself recognized it, creating space in crowds, waking him from nightmares before they fully took hold. On a warm June evening, Marcus sat on his back porch with a phone in his hand, staring at a number he had not called in over a year. Rex lay beside him, chin resting on Marcus's boot. He pressed dial. His daughter answered on the 3rd ring. "Dad?" Her voice cracked something open inside him. "Hey, Jasmine. I know it has been a while. I know I have not been the father you deserved. But I am trying. I am getting better. And I was wondering if maybe you would want to come visit. Meet someone important." There was silence on the other end, then a sound that might have been a sob or a laugh. "I have wanted you to call for so long." "Yes. Yes, I will come." She arrived the following weekend, pulling up in a car Marcus did not recognize, looking so much older than the little girl he remembered. She was cautious at first, the distance between them measured in more than miles. But then she saw Rex, saw the way the dog stayed close to Marcus, saw the calmness in her father's eyes that had been missing for years. They sat in the backyard as the sun set, talking carefully at first, then with growing ease. Rex moved between them, accepting attention from Jasmine with patient dignity, and Marcus watched his daughter smile, really smile, for the first time since he had come home. "I am proud of you, Dad," she said quietly, "for not giving up, on yourself or on him." Marcus reached down to scratch behind Rex's ears, feeling the steady warmth of the dog who had saved his life by letting Marcus save his. "We saved each other." 2 years later, Marcus stood in the parking lot of Riverside Animal Rescue, Rex sitting calmly at his side. The October morning was crisp, the leaves turning gold and red across Detroit. He had not been back since the day he took Rex home, but Sarah had called last week with a request he could not refuse. Inside, the shelter looked the same but felt different. Sarah greeted him with a hug that lasted longer than professional courtesy required. "You look good, Marcus. Really good." He smiled, and it reached his eyes now. "Feeling good. Best I have in years." She led him to the community room where a group of veterans sat in folding chairs, looking uncomfortable and uncertain. This was a new program Sarah had started, matching shelter dogs with veterans struggling with PTSD. But the vets were skeptical, their body language defensive, their eyes carrying that particular emptiness Marcus recognized from his own mirror 2 years ago. Sarah introduced him, and Marcus stood before them with Rex at his side. He did not have a speech prepared. He just told them the truth. 2 years ago, I was barely surviving. Could not sleep, could not connect with my daughter, could not see a future that did not feel like punishment. The VA gave me pills that did not work and therapy that only helped at the edges. I was drowning, and I did not know how to ask for help. He looked down at Rex, who gazed back with those dark, intelligent eyes. Then I met this dog. He was broken too. Angry, scared, violent. Everyone said he was beyond saving. And maybe that is why we understood each other. We were both carrying wounds that no one else could see. One of the veterans, a young woman with a prosthetic leg, leaned forward. What changed? Marcus considered the question. We gave each other a reason. He needed someone who would not give up on him, who would sit with him in his pain without demanding he be different. And I needed something outside myself to care about, something that depended on me showing up every day even when I did not want to. He spent the next hour answering questions, demonstrating how Rex responded to his anxiety cues, explaining the patience required and the small victories that added up to transformation. By the end, the skepticism had softened. Hope, fragile but real, had entered the room. As he was leaving, Sarah walked him to his truck. You know what you did today? You gave them permission to believe in second chances. Marcus opened the truck door, and Rex jumped in with easy familiarity. We all deserve second chances. Sometimes we just need someone to see past the scars to who we really are. He drove home through the Detroit streets, Rex's head out the window, the autumn sun warm on their faces. That evening, Jasmine would come for dinner, a weekly tradition now. Next month, he was starting a job training service dogs for other veterans. His life had rebuilt itself in ways he never imagined possible. All because a shelter director took a chance. Because a broken dog and a broken man found each other in the darkness and chose to heal together. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this incredible journey. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales of hope, redemption, and the unbreakable bonds between humans and animals. Drop a comment below telling us what you felt and suggest topics you would love to see in our next videos. Your support means everything, and together, we can share more stories that remind us all that no one is ever truly beyond saving. See you in the next one.